Sthana Visheshat Prakashadivat. Sthana Vishesha is the light in relation to the object is the illuminer. We call it as connection. The light is connected to the object. And when the object is removed from the light, then we say the light is withdrawn, is divided from it. It is a situational, it is conditional. Sthana Vishesha, even though a specific place, but Sthana Vishesha should be translated as conditional. Connection is conditional, not intrinsic. Connection is incidental. Division also is incidental. Connection has a reason. Division has a reason. But intrinsically, just as the light remains light, unqualified by any connection, unqualified by any division. In the same manner, our own existence, due to avidya, as though we are connected to the world, and when the world subsides, we are as though disconnected from the world. Connection is conditional, disconnection is conditional. But the conscious being is neither connected nor disconnected. Like the space, from the air point of view, it is connected to the air. From its own point of view, it is unconnected. But even the teaching that it is connected is a teaching, adhyaropa drishti. That it is unconnected, it is a teaching from the swarupa drishti. But from its own nirvisesham space, it is neither connected nor unconnected. Similarly, consciousness, from its own point of view, neither it is connected to the world, nor is it withdrawn from anything. Thus, sthana vishesha can be translated as conditional, incidental, sanimittam. Upapattescha and this alone is logical. Upapatti means logicality. The unlimited can have only a conditional connection. The unlimited can only have a conditional disconnection. It can have conditional connection or conditional disconnection, but it can't have intrinsic connection and disconnection. That alone is logical. A rope is a snake only conditionally. It can only be seen as a snake. It cannot be snake. The rope can't be snake. The rope can be seen as a snake. The sand can be seen as a mirage. The sand cannot be water. Mirage. Therefore, this alone is logical. Conditional connection is possible in the truth. Conditional disconnection is possible in the truth. And the conditional connection means notional connection. Notional connection means avidyaka connection. And conditional disconnection also means notional disconnection, meaning avidyaka disconnection. But swarupataha, it has neither connection nor disconnection. It's free from both connection and disconnection. This alone is possible. Because truth cannot have a real connection and real disconnection. Not only, if it is logical, now you can't do anything about it. Because what is logical? Logicality is a clue to the truth, ji. If it is logical, you can't say it is not real. If it is logical, it is real. If it is logical, it is real. It is logical to say that the rope cannot be snake. It's logical to say that the rope cannot be snake. Rope can only be rope. And it is logical to say rope cannot be snake. And it is logical to say that rope can only be mistaken for a snake. It can be a distortion. The rope can be mistaken for a snake. The unlimited cannot be limited, but the unlimited maybe it can be mistaken for the limited. That alone is possible. Every distortion is conditional to ignorance of a fact. Every distortion. Life is itself a distortion, conditional to the ignorance of the truth. And therefore, this alone is logical, sir. That connection and disconnection, and also the size, measurement, setu, unmana, and bheda and sambandha. These are the four factors. Truth can have a conditional, means an incidental. It is incidentally understanding the truth is incidentally. It is taught as a setu, the bridge to moksha. Truth is a bridge to moksha. That is how it is taught, not that is what it is. It is taught as having a sukshma and sthula, it's big and small. It is bigger than the biggest. It is subtler than the subtlest. In this manner, we talk about the truth in terms of some kind of dimension. It is taught. And it is also taught to be connected to the anatma and disconnected to anatma. But that is also avidyakam. It becomes the seer of the object, and it also ceases to be the seer. In Jagrat, it stands as the seer of everything. In the dream, it stands as the seer of everything. And in the deep sleep state, it sees, but there is no object. So we think of its connections, the presence of the objects is called the truth's connection with the objects, and the object's absence of the objects is called the disconnection of the truth with the objects. These are all incidental, conditional, within the realm of ignorance. It's not its nature, because it is unlimited. If it is unlimited, it alone is. It alone is. Like silence, it's not connected to anything. There is no connection qualifying it. Thus, this alone is logical. Human misery is indeed born of ignorance. Alone is a logical explanation. If unhappiness were logical, I would have accepted. It is illogical. Why? Because by nature man is shanti. By nature man is peaceful. Therefore, to think that the happiness is my quality is illogical. To think that I am subject to death is illogical. To think that I am a form is illogical. And when I think illogically, I become unhappy. And it is logical to think, it is logical to say that when a man thinks illogically, he has to become unhappy. Naturally, that is logical. Therefore, if man is unhappy, it is due to his illogical thinking. And that the illogical thinking makes man unhappy is also logical. It's okay to say that man's thinking is illogical, he is unhappy. And also, if unhappiness were logical, I would have accepted, because it's not possible. It's not possible to resist what you see as logical. Not believe, but what you see as logical. You can't resist logicality. Logicality means the truth. And many times people believe it to be logical, but don't see it correctly, it's logical. Seeing the logicality is different from believing the logicality. Seeing is different from belief. Believing means, that I believe that God is in heaven. That is believing. Even though some people say seeing is believing and all that. Believing is when it's not evident, you believe. When it is evident, you only see it. See what is evident. You can't do anything else with what is evident. What is evident, you only see. You can't do much else. You can only see what is evident. You can only register what is evident. And therefore, what is logical is this alone, that man's limitation is conditional, it is avidyakam, it is erroneous. Man's division, now that his connections are conditional, his disconnections are conditional, its size is conditional, whatever he thinks about himself is conditional. But otherwise, unconditionally, what is he? He is non-dual. He is only is. And to be can never be conditional, G. Being is never conditional. Thinking can be conditional. Thinking is doing, that is conditional. Thinking is conditional because in the realm of non-understanding my truth, I believe, I come to think that I am only a thinker, and except as a thinker I have no existence. That kind of thinking comes. Therefore, thinkerness is conditional, perceiverness, any individual thinkerness, individual seerness, hearerness, tasterness, toucherness, smellerness, rememberness, likerness, dislikerness, etc. is all conditional. Condition here is ignorance. Self-ignorance is the condition. Like snake perception is conditional to rope ignorance. Doings are conditional, being is unconditional. You can't have a conditional being. There can be a conditional thinking. Ignorance can't really lead to being. In fact, ignorance itself is about the being. One's existence is not conditional. One's thinking that once I am a form is conditional. I have a form, this thinking is conditional. I am a sansari, this thinking is conditional. That I am a mortal, this thinking is conditional. Conditional means avidyakam. And therefore, to be a setu, the truth being taught as a setu to the moksha, being taught as having a size, being taught as connected, being taught as unconnected. These are all conditional. Even the entire Vedanta is conditional. Why? Because presupposing self-ignorance is the Vedanta. Vedanta is not absolute, please. Only truth is absolute. What unconditionally is the truth. My individuality is conditional to ignorance about the non-individual me. My view that I am an individual is conditional to my ignorance about my being. Just as my life is conditional to my ignorance about the truth, it's not conditional to any karma. Even karma is conditional to self-ignorance. ये बहुत बड़ी important चीज है. Life is conditional to self-ignorance, and even karma is conditional to self-ignorance. Even karma is conditional to self-ignorance. And therefore, all the pattern of thinking is conditional. Existence is not conditional, because existence is not thinking. To be is not thinking. This is what is called seeing the difference between being and thinking is what is called Vedanta. Any thinking is conditional. Any thinking is conditional. Even Vedantic thinking is conditional too. It presupposes the ignorance about the truth. Why should there be a teaching unless there is already ignorance? Like going to school presupposes illiteracy, it is conditional. It may remove the condition, that is a different matter. But the very literacy, the education presupposes illiteracy. It may remove illiteracy, that is a different matter. But it does, I go for education presupposing the illiteracy. Similarly, I go for self-knowledge presupposing self-ignorance. The Vedanta also is there only presupposing self-ignorance. Thus, human thinking is conditional. Shastra's thinking also is conditional. Any thinking is conditional. Existence is unconditional. And that is what is said here. Upapatyasya, this alone is logical. Unhappiness can only be a conditional phenomenon. It cannot be our intrinsic nature. Unhappiness cannot be. If unhappiness were our nature, we would have accepted it. Man doesn't know how to. He can't. It's not possible for him to revolt against his nature. It's not by choice. Like when you revolt against unhappiness, it's not by choice. It just happens. I resist unhappiness choicelessly. I resist fear choicelessly. What is happening choicelessly, please understand. It is a clue to the truth. All choiceless happenings in our mind, all choiceless happenings in our being, if we are intelligent, they can be clue to the truth. In fact, Vedanta teaches the truth only on the basis of those clues. Vedanta cannot teach the truth without that experienced clues. I choicelessly resist unhappiness. That means it cannot be my nature. I choicelessly gravitate towards peace. Why? Because that happens to be my nature. If somebody were to say, why not we think the other way? Happiness is my is not intrinsic, unhappiness is intrinsic. How can you explain it, Ji? I don't gravitate choicelessly towards, I don't long for unhappiness. I long for, that is called gravitating. I long for peace. I long for happiness. Therefore, there is a universal longing. It is not subjective also. Supposing a given person does something, he has a longing for money. That is subjective, can be. It's not choiceless. If somebody has a longing for name and fame, it is a subject. It's not universal. Everybody wants to have name and fame. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Everybody wants to be peaceful, that's all. What is universally longed for is peace. What is universally, choicelessly longed for? What is universally longed for? What is choicelessly longed for? What is irresistibly longed for? Has to be our nature, otherwise what is the explanation? Why does man want to be happy? Why does he want to be peaceful? Why does he want to be existent? Why does he want to be alive? Alive means why does he want to be? He doesn't want to get out of his sight of his being. He wants to be within the sight of his being. That's called eternity. Why does man long for eternity? Why does man long for peace? Long for freedom from limitation, etc. Why does he long for freedom from struggle? People struggle and struggle and struggle in order not to struggle, you see. I don't know how not to struggle, therefore I keep struggling in order not to struggle. Therefore this alone can be logical. What is logical? That man's unhappiness is conditional to his ignorance about himself. His connections are conditional to. His connection means he thinks I am connected, he thinks I am disconnected, he thinks I have a size. All his thinking is conditional to. All his thinking about himself is conditional to his ignorance about his being. To be. This alone is logical. BRAHMASUTRA says, all that he thinks is conditional to his ignorance. Nothing else can explain his halat except the self-ignorance. It is not, unhappiness cannot be by my will. Unhappiness is not willed by somebody. Unhappiness is not willed by my friends. My unhappiness is not, unhappiness can never be will born. Please understand. Unhappiness can never be willed. Unhappiness, I find myself unhappy, conditional to my ignorance about the truth, the being. It is the ignorance about the truth that is the condition. It is not ignorance about some insignificant object, no. It is non-understanding about the very source of the universe, the very non-understanding about my being. And therefore, upapattescha, this alone is logical. What is logical? That man is unhappy. His entire behavior, his entire thinking is conditional to self-ignorance. If man's even dharmic thinking is conditional to his ignorance, what to talk of his adharmic thinking? Even Rama's thinking is conditional to Rama's kind of thinking. If you think like Rama, that is also dharmic thinking. It is a thinking, it is not a being. Goodness is thinking, please. Any thinking is conditional to ignorance, conditional to the ignorance about the being. When the rope is a rope, that is being. It is being a rope. It can never be snake. It can be thought snake. It can be thought garland. It can be thought stick. It can be thought this. It can be thought that. But it can be rope. It can be rope. Similarly, the unlimited can be limited, but can be thought of as limited. Thus, and that thought of limitation is contrary to the being. All our thinking is contrary to our being. Therefore, all our thinking only, being contrary to thinking, it only makes us unhappy. All our thinking makes us unhappy. Is it true, Swamiji? Everything, including good thinking in time, makes you unhappy. Why? Because even good thinking, when I think good means, when goodness, I am not talking about the right thinking, but good thinking. Right thinking is, every thinking is conditional to self-ignorance. That is right thinking. What Shastra teaches is right thinking. Whereas good thinking is goodness, good Samaritanness, goodness. Also, then I expect punya out of it. And the expected may not come. It has the potential to make man. Goodness can give me a good body, and again I have to go through. Goodness does not liberate me, but that is enough. Good thinking does not falsify thinking. A good dream is not a non-dream. It doesn't falsify dream. A good dream does not falsify dream. Waking up from the dream falsifies the dream. And right thinking is falsifying thinking, is the right thinking. That any thinking is conditional to ignorance about being. That thinking is the right thinking, which is initiated by Vedanta. Vedanta makes man think about the falsity of the very thinking. Like in the deep sleep state, there is no thinking, there is only being. And neither there is universe, nor there is a memory of it, neither you long for anything, nor there is any missing of it, nothing. Atra pita apita bhavati. The father ceases to be a father in sleep, and a king ceases to be a king in sleep, and a blind man ceases to be a blind man in sleep. Why? Because you transcend your embodiment, and it is only a state of being, not it is a state of thinking. After waking up again, you victimize that being by making the being an object of thinking. You think about it. After waking up, I think about sleep as a state of darkness, a state of ignorance, a state of blackout, a state of nothingness. I imagine the state of being, I think of the being distortedly. That is distorted thinking about the truth. Thus, it is logical, it is indeed logical to think that man craves, all his cravings are conditional to his ignorance, all his unhappiness is conditional to ignorance, his whole life is conditional to his non-understanding of his being. His struggle is conditional to his non-understanding of the truth. It is logical. That is the word, that is the sutra. Dharmam jaimini, dharmam jaimini, dharmam. प्रकाशादिवत उपपत्तिश्च वन पेज इधर गया तथा अन्य प्रतिषेधात् तथा अन्य प्रतिषेधात् connections are conditional, disconnections are conditional, sizes are conditional. The entire thinking is conditional. Why? Because the Shruti says there is nothing other than the truth. If there is nothing other than the being, then everything else that is seen in that being is conditional to ignorance about that being. And therefore, tatha, and so too, apart from its, all that is being said is being logical, apart from its being logical, it is also true, it is substantiated by the Shruti, which says that there is nothing other than the unlimited. If there is nothing other than the self, how can it get connected to something, disconnected to something, or it has a size, etc. It is the unlimited doesn't have a given size. Therefore, anya pratishedhat. Anya means dusra. Pratishedhat means being negated. The Shruti negates everything else. Shruti says, here let me read. Sayeva adhastat. It says, you don't worry. Tatha it says, Sayeva adhastat. The same truth is below. Uparicha, dakshinataha, uttarataha, purvataha, paschimataha. In this manner it is there in all directions above and below. Means what? There is nothing other than the being. Not that the self is the being and the rest is all non-being, no. It is thought a wave. It is water. This is the language you have to pick up. It is thought a wave. I think it is a wave. An onlooker thinks it is a wave. It is thought a wave. Otherwise it is water. And you continue the same thinking. It is a thought, it is seen water. It is your being. It is the conscious being. It is what? It is thought limited. It is thought an object, but it is the subject. So anyway, it is thought a wave, but it is water. Similarly, the self is thought the body. As embodied, I am a wave. I am thought embodied, a wave. But I am the water, the truth. I am thought a wave. Therefore, what is thought a wave? Because it is thought a wave with a sense of reality. The water is thought a wave, and the wave, I think I see it a wave with a sense of reality. It looks as though the wave is. The wave is not is. The wave not is. The wave is only thought. Because thought also looks to be, to discern between the thought and the non-thought, the being. That's a very big thing. Because thought also looks the being. The wave is, it looks to be. The dream looks to be. The waking looks to be. Whereas the dream is a thought, it is perceived. The waking is perceived, not that it is. And the clue to what is not thought, the clue to it is, what is not, the being is never objectified. The world is objectified, it is thought, it is perceived, it is objectified. And the being is oneself, because one's existence is not objectified. And therefore, sayeva adhastat, ahameva adhastat. And the Shruti says, only the aham alone is there below, above, to the north and to the south, to the west, to the east, etc. Meaning what? It is, there is nothing other. What looks to be divisible spatiality, what looks to be divisible spatial existence, it is all indivisible being. Ahameva adhastat, atmaiva adhastat. And what is above and below and this side and that side is only, all over is only Atma. Atma alone is everywhere. Sarvam tam paradad, yonyatra atmanah sarvam veda. Upanishad says, may you reject that person. A Brahmana clan, it is said, rejects that person who thinks that there is something other than Brahman. Brahmatam paradad, yonyatratmanaha brahma veda, kshatram tam paradad, yonyatratmanaha kshatram veda, sarvam tam paradad, yonyatratmanaha sarvam veda. In this manner, Upanishad says, everybody would reject a person who thinks that there is something other than the truth. A Brahmanas would excommunicate a person who thinks there is something other than the truth. All that is there is only the truth. That is the topic of life, and based on the topic, may you behave. Let your behavior be according to the fact that there is only one truth, and let that be the topic of understanding in life. In this manner, the Shruti negates anything other than the truth. Brahmai vedam sarvam, atmai vedam sarvam, nehana nasti kinchana, yasya yasmat param na paramasti kinchit. There is nothing beyond it. All this is Atma, all this is Brahman, all this is Aham, and all this is indeed the Param, Tadetad Brahma. This is unlimited. Apurvam, it has no cause. Anaparam, it has no effect. Anantaram, it's not divided from anything. Abhahyam, there is nothing outside it. There is nothing else inside it. There is nothing else outside it. The idea of spatial inside and the idea of spatial outside doesn't apply to the truth. Like in sleep, there is nothing outside to deep sleep. There is nothing inside to the deep sleep state. And therefore the knower, the one, the observer doesn't have anything external to him, because like the space doesn't have something external to it or something internal to it. It alone is, even though we say the air is internal to the space, the air is space, not internal to the space. The wave is not internal to water, it is water. So the idea of internality, externality, where there is oneness, in that oneness, like water, between the wave and water there is oneness. And in that context, wave cannot be external to water, wave cannot be internal to water. Wave is water. The air cannot be external to the space or internal to the space. It is space. The space runs in and through the air. Similarly, the creation is not external to the seer, nor is it internal to the seer. It is made of, it is the seer. That is oneness. No preposition. It is internal to, external to is what is it? A relationship, preposition. Where all the prepositions don't exist, where no prepositions exist, that is the truth. Where no connections exist. The wave is not inside, in water or outside water, on water, under water. The wave is what is the equation. That is oneness. The table is wood. That is oneness. Even when we say the table is born of wood, sustained by wood, and goes back unto wood, even though we use all this language, but what is meant to be taught is, therefore it is water. That is the tatparyam. Therefore it is wood. Wave is born of water, sustained by water, it goes back unto water, and therefore it is water. That is the tatparyam. And the first three statements are teaching. It is made of water, sustained by water, goes back into water, is the teaching. And what is the tatparyam? Therefore, it is water. Jagat is born of Parameshwara, sustained by Parameshwara, and goes back unto Parameshwara. Therefore, it is Parameshwara. And that Parameshwara, thou art. That Parameshwara, thou art. That is your intrinsic nature. The body is a part of creation, mind is a part of creation, senses are a part of creation, intellect is a part of creation, whereas your existence is not a part of creation. It is at once the source and unqualified by the creation. In this manner, Neha nanasti kinchana. Man sees there are too many things around. Shastra says यहाँ पर कोई नाना नहीं है. There is no multiplicity here. Because all that look like many are one. All that look like many are one. The many jivas are one unlimited being. The many minds are one unlimited being. The many forms are one formless. The formless cannot have multiplicity. The forms can have multiplicity. But the formless cannot be counted. What is formless? Cannot be many. How do you conclude that the formless can be many? Like the unlimited cannot be many, the formless also cannot be many, the silent cannot be many, the absolutely silent cannot be many. There can be many sounds, but not many silences. And you cannot, and therefore that's why the Upanishad says here, नेहा नानास्ति किंचना. यहाँ पर मल्टीप्लिसिटी नहीं है. मृत्यो स मृत्युम आपनोति यह नाने उपस्थित. The one who sees the many, he doesn't. That means seeing the many is conditional to not seeing the one. Not seeing the one that is himself. The one can never be other than oneself. Thoughts are many, but the one is one's own self. Memories are many, the one is oneself. They're all rooted in the one. They're all appearances in the one. Perceptions are many, countless perceptions rooted in one's being the one. And the universe has no evidence except as perception. What is the proof, that there is a tree unless I go by my perception. I don't experience the universe as anything other than my perception. It's perception. Therefore, every object is perception. And perception is rooted in the perceiver. Therefore, perceiver minus the perceiver-perceived relationship is absolute. Therefore, nanyadatosti drashta, nanyadatosti shrota, nanyadatosti manta, nanyadatosti vijnata. He says, this seer is not other than the truth. This hearer is not other than the truth. This thinker is not other than the truth. This understander is not other than the truth. This individual is not other than the truth. Because all perceptions are rooted in the being. Like all the sun rays are rooted in the sun, ji. Sun rays are not other than the sun. The bits of space are not other than the space. The drops of seawater is not other than the seawater. Sparks are not other than the fire. And therefore, Tadetad Brahma Purvam Anaparam Anantaram Abhahyam Ityevam Adivakyani Swaprakaranasthani Anyarthatvena Parinetum Ashakyani Brahma Vyatiriktam Vastvantaram Varayanti. All these vakyas stop you from thinking that there is something other than your being. Varayanti. Varayanti means they nivaran karte. They stop you. They stop your thinking. They stop you from concluding that there can be something other than the being. Next sutra ji. Anenam sarvagatatvam ayama shabdadibhyam anenam sarvagatatvam ayama shabdadibhyah. Anena, with this we understand that Atma is, your being is sarvagatatvam. It is unlimited. To be means to be unlimited. To be is to be unlimited. To be is to be conscious, and to be conscious means to be unlimited. And all that is inert is not outside the context of the conscious. The inert space, the inert air, fire, water, earth, anything that is objectified is not away from, is not unconnected to the unobjectifiable. The objectified and the objectifiable can never exist away from the unobjectifiable. Like the wave can never exist away from water. Yes. The table can never exist outside wood. The objectifiable, the creation, can never exist away from the unobjectifiable, the conscious identity. Anena sarvagatatvam. Ayama means pervasiveness. This pervasiveness is not to be taken as functional. Pervasion is not an emotion. Be present everywhere. Everything is connected to it. Like all waves are made of water. That is the pervasiveness of water. Every bit of the table is made of wood. That is what we call the pervasiveness of wood. Sarvagatatvam ayama shabdadibhyaha. Ayama means all pervasiveness. That is called omniscience. Omnipresence. They say in omni. Omniscience. Omnipresent. Almighty. All that. These are all just, one doesn't have to be overawed by these words. Omnipresence is not something, it is being silent, nothing else. Omnipresence is being silent. All pervasiveness also is being silent. Being and being silent. And almightiness also is being silent. Because nothing can be mightier than being peaceful. Can there be anything mightier than peace, Ji? I don't think so. Therefore, the Shruti uses certain words like pervasive, etc. They are all justified because first it says anything other than the truth non-existent. Nothing exists other than the truth. Therefore, it is unlimited. Therefore, it is non-dual. It alone is. If you say there is a creation, but then it is pervaded by the same truth. Wood is called the pervasive when one sees a table in it. So the table that you see is pervaded by the wood. That is what the Shruti says. The snake that you see is pervaded by the rope. The wave that you see, from the Shastra Drishti there is no wave. Man sees, man thinks there is a wave. The wave that you see is pervaded by water. It's a perception. Wave is a perception. Water is. The universe that you see is pervaded by Ishvara. That Ishvara is not again another part of creation. If it were a part of creation, then it will be creation, not the source. The source of the creation cannot be a part of creation. If it is not a part of creation, you have to listen to this. It cannot be other than you. If it is not a part of creation, it is not other than you. Therefore the Shruti says, that source thou art. It's like saying to the wave, there is some water which is the source of the wave that you are, and the support of the wave that you think you are. That is the resolving point of the wave that you think you are. And there is that water which is unqualified by the wave that you think you are. It alone is, and that non-dual water thou art. Again, it's not a part of the wave, it is the truth of the wave. Also, these expressions must be understood. It's not a part of the wave. It is not a part of the wave, but it is the truth of the wave. The rope is not a part of the snake. It is the adhishthanam of the snake. Water is not a part of the wave. That is thinking very casually. Water is not a part. Part means a branch is a part of the tree. That's different. A leaf is a part of the tree. You are a part of your family. There are divisions, members. A window is a part of the building. Space is a part of the creation. Air is another part of the creation. Body is a part of the creation. Senses are a part of the creation. Thoughts are a part of the creation. Dukkham also is a part of the creation. These are all parts of the creation. But Parameshvara is not a part of the creation. That is the source. And that Parameshvara, because it is not a part of the creation, it has to be the subject. Thou art the Brahman. Therefore that makes sense. If Shastra were to say that there is a Parameshwara which is the source of the universe, and supposing the Shastra had left it there, it would have been free for all. People would have been imagined, what is that? Ishvara. But here, all ambiguity is set at rest by saying that Parameshwara thou art. But it's not a part of the creation. In this manner, anenasa. So, Parameshwara, the creation that you see is pervaded by Parameshwara. And that Parameshwara thou art. Why it is thou art? It's not a part of the creation. Therefore, you have to see the logic of it. Either Parameshwara has to be the very subject, or there is no Parameshwara. Yes. Either the unlimited should be one's own existence. One's own being has to be the unlimited, ununderstood, unlimited being. But it is ununderstood, not non-existent. It is ununderstood. Because evidence is there. If everything falls in your attention, then your attention is unlimited. If everything falls within the conscious attention, then the conscious attention is unlimited. If every color falls on the sight, within the sight, then the sight is definitely bigger than any size. Then the whole creation falls within the conscious sight, therefore the size of the conscious sight should be unlimited. The evidence of the unlimitedness is there. The unlimitedness of a conscious being is evident. And what is evident is only mentioned by the Shastra, that evidently what is self-evident being, the unlimited being, that self-evident being, the what? There. It doesn't assume, the Shastra doesn't speculate, doesn't assume, doesn't air an opinion. It's like the fire is evidently hot, and I say the fire is hot. It is evident. Of course, sense evident. The entire science talks about what is a sense evident. No scientist can talk about something that is non-sense evident. It has to be evident to the sense perception. Similarly, the existence of the subject is not sense evident, it's not an object there, it is self-evident. One feels one's existence closing one's eyes also. You don't look for a pramanam to feel your existence. You don't look for glasses to feel that you are existent. You don't look for even Vedanta. Existence is felt even, it is ununderstood. It is evident but not understood. Vedanta does not really make the truth evident. The Vedanta only teaches what is already evident. This is the heart and soul of Vedanta. It doesn't assume the truth. And therefore, anena sarvagatatvam ayama shabdadibhyaha. And the next sutra we will see in the next class. Thank you, Ji. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.